Here it is at last, the Helios Tarot forecast for the month, or Tarot Horoscope drawn specifically for your astrological zodiac sign. I'm B.R. Newman, in case you didn't know that already. Check out my website, IamHelios.com, through the link below, and consider everything that I have to offer there. Consider signing up to receive any number of the personal readings that I offer, or consider signing up to take a course. The choice is yours. There's a lot to explore there. Also consider checking out Annie Botticelli's Storyteller forecasts to see the astrological side of everything you're going to see here. It's fascinating, I promise. So, okay, I guess we'll just jump right into it. Here we have it, your 5-card tarot spread. Now this is a kind of condensed Golden Dawn spread, which consists of 15 cards. In this case we have 5. Central theme, 2-dimensional timeline options, past section, and a fate section. In your central theme, you have the 8 of Wands. Now, the 8 of Wands, like all 8s in tarot, is associated with a Sphyrith 8 on the Tree of Life, Hod. Now, this is action taken from acceptance or surrender, and as manifest through fire, or through wands, this is the experience of having obstacles suddenly and swiftly swept away. So since this central theme most adequately outlines the whole story arc, or embodies the whole story arc of this tarot spread, this sounds quite positive, quite refreshing, quite alleviating. A huge pressure is being lifted here. However, a few things to take into consideration. Sometimes we grow quite attached to our obstacles. It may seem a strange thing, but human psychology is in itself at times quite irrational and nonsensical. So, yes, attachments or addictions to things that are suddenly swept away may cause some shock or discomfort. So, the thing to keep in mind, the idea here, is surrender. The whole point of Sphyrith 8, or Hod, is to incite surrender and acceptance, and it could be far more difficult than it is here in the 8 of Wands, so Hod as manifest through fire is quite tame, especially when compared to Hod as manifest through air. A consistent, annoying, and tormenting presence that after far too long finally inspires you to step back. So this is not like that at all. So it's a rather easy manifestation of Hod compared to that at least, and also compared to Earth, which is meticulous and tedious calculation of every probability before arriving at some result that allows you to surrender. It's not like that either, so count your blessings. What we have to consider going forward are the 2-dimensional timeline possibilities. On the one hand, you have the 3 of Swords. Now the 3s are all associated with Binah on the Tree of Life. And Binah is associated with the left hemisphere of the brain. So this is processed wisdom, deductive reasoning, all left brain functions. So it's sort of the reality that brings the imagination of the right hemisphere into form. And as manifest through Swords in this case, this is indecision. This is recognizing the consequence of indecision. So experiencing firsthand the consequence of indecision. So the central theme, the 8 of Wands, implies quick action, everything perhaps being swept away suddenly into an entirely different scenario. And perhaps your reaction time may be a bit delayed. You might be taken aback, and you might be off guard a bit, and things just keep changing rapidly, and your indecision that perhaps you could have indulged in the past in a slower paradigm now gets you into a bit of trouble. Of course, the emphasis here is, or should be, on the learning experience. This is not needless, any of this. So even though you might find yourself in a tumultuous situation on this dimensional timeline, this is not without a purpose. If you would like to avoid the direct experience with the consequence of indecision, you have another dimensional timeline you can take, and this is embodied by the Queen of Wands. Now you may or may not be aware that all 16 court cards in tarot directly correspond to all 16 Myers-Briggs personality profiles. The whole Myers-Briggs system having roots in Jungian psychology, so no surprises there. So in any case, the Queen of Wands directly corresponds with the INTJ, the introverted, intuitive thinking judger. So this is a personality profile that you can embody to essentially evade the 3 of Swords experience. So this person is very independent. This is somebody who sees the world as a game, like a chessboard just beckoning them to think strategically for the sake of fun, almost. So in a sense, the message of this personality profile is to not take things so seriously, that once you do step back from taking everything so seriously, then you can re-engage this serious approach. Strategize as if the stakes were high, all the while holding the notion that all of this is merely a simulation as your foundational assumption. Don't get too caught up in or lost in your obligations and responsibility. This personality profile is extremely independent and does not require others to be satiated by her efforts, before she gives herself a permission slip to carry on with her own pursuits, with her own strategies, with her own way. So herein we find a few implications regarding the 3 of Swords. So the indecision that sets in motion the troubling nature of the Three of Swords may in fact be taking other people's wants and other people's needs into consideration before your own, or at least taking them into consideration for far too long before taking action on what you need and what you want. So the indecision here may not be so much a matter of jumbling back and forth between options, but rather hesitating to do what is necessary for fear of what they will think of you, whoever they may be. So very simply, the way to avoid the hassle of the Three of Swords: be independent, be quick, think for yourself, develop your own game plan, act instantly according to your own strategies, and don't take yourself or any of this so seriously. And think of it like a simulation, not too much invested in it. So all of this was inspired by the Priestess in your past. The Priestess set the Eight of Wands into motion, allowed the conditions to arise that would allow the obstacles and challenges to be swept away so suddenly. So the Priestess is a process, actually, a process of getting in touch with the source of your power. Her companion card, the Magus, is the force that wields the power, that makes miracles happen. The grand illusionist that blows everyone's minds, right? So the Priestess is the source of the Magus's power. So by getting in touch with the source of your power, you are allowing the conditions inherent in the Eight of Wands to surface that would allow the obstacles to be swept away. And yes, it may be uncomfortable, especially if you've developed attachments to those things that are no longer serving you. But of course, the idea here is surrender. Again, the primary objective of Sfirat 8, or Had, on the Tree of Life, is to inspire surrender and acceptance. So assuming that you do eventually reach that point of acceptance, you will allow a new personality type to emerge, or an aspect of yourself that perhaps may have been laying dormant for a while. And this is symbolized by the Prince of Swords in your Fate section. Now this is a personality profile that has a genuine love for the game. The Prince of Swords is the ESTP, or the Extroverted Sensing Thinking Perceiver. So this is a very unconventional person, somebody very fun, who lives here and now, somebody who's brilliant at problem solving and very spontaneous. So you could say that the Queen of Wands is like the practice round for becoming the Prince of Swords. The Queen of Wands kind of serves as a boundary setting mechanism in this case, in the position she's in, staking claim on her own life, her own way. Whereas the Prince of Swords really expands into that, allows that to be the primary experience. So very indulgent, really loving the game. Not merely seeing it as a game, but loving it as a game. So the message delivered throughout your experience along these two-dimensional timelines is: approach the situation at hand as if it were merely a simulation, but ultimately, ideally, the wisdom that should arise within you is a love for the simulation. And of course, none of this is possible without the element of surrender and acceptance. That is the primary objective of your central theme. So now here in the Fate section, this is the product of the maturation or culmination of that central theme, the Eight of Wands. So that's excellent news. And that about wraps us up. So thank you so much for listening to this. Check out my website at the link below, IamHelios.com. Consider everything that I have to offer there. I'm offering readings right now. We can go so much deeper, take this so much further, taking a vast wellspring of resources into account. Of course, astrology and tarot, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and cutting-edge science. There's so much to consider, and you can take this so far and do so much with it. So I'll leave you to it. Thank you so much.